This is The Media in Mind with your host, K.W.H. Dare to See the Gray. This is episode 8, Trump's Hijacked Old Golden Age, Fake Patriot President. Okay, so yeah, I'm only gonna have start with one current event, because I this is gonna there's a lot to go over. We're gonna basically go over everything that Trump has done in the last 10 years since 2016, and I'm gonna show some proof that I warned about this in my book, and and I'm also gonna bring up stuff from my old Facebook account that I backed up in around from 2016 to 2018. So I backed it up in a period. I did black out the name in that profile because that is part of my real name. So that's why there's a blackout in it. But just to show you guys that I was warning about this before, and some of the revelations that came out of my book that came true. So I'm going to directly quote them to show you proof of that. So yeah, first thing, the current event. I mean, it's actually just kind of a funny thing, but yeah, I thought it was a joke. I'm going to double check more of it. But it seems like, and actually there's I'm not going to show you. You could probably find it. Again, we kind of exposed Owen Schwarrier a little bit last time. Not saying that you should, he's a good guy or anything, but he did have a clip of Alex Jones, I guess, and him talking about the Epstein email that the people are just talking about that just got released. I think they're just like rehashing it, but they're talking about it again. And at first, like I thought it was a joke, but it seems like there is. Alex Jones did cover something with email years ago, so it does seem legit. But anyways, the main thing is that basically there's supposedly an email or a picture of a picture of I think it was Epstein emailed it to somebody that Trump was basically sucking Bill Clinton's dick. So I call him Bubba or something like that. So anyway, that's just something funny to throw in there. So, and I wouldn't really, it wouldn't be too surprising to me because, I think we talked about it before, but, Michael Flynn, um, he, Michael Flynn and Trump have weirdly, I think it was like 2013, but they've thrown parties for the LGBT and like trannies. Even Michael Flynn was like had trannies around, so it's really weird. Like they're not really the people they say they are. Like I doubt they're probably definitely gay or bisexual or something. So anyways, so it's not surprising that Trump would be doing that. And plus how close he was to the Clinton family, that's another thing. Um, yeah, so yeah, I mean there's other current events, but we're gonna um we're gonna skip to the main topic here. First what I'm gonna do here is um I'm gonna share my screen, and I have electronic version of my book, A Patriot's Rebirth, the unabridged edition. And I'm gonna show you now these names that they're. I mean, I'm sure you can figure it out. I'll probably just we'll go over what who we're talking about. I'm sure you'll know who I'm talking about, and they're pretty easy to relate to who I'm talking about. But yeah, but anyways, yeah. So because just to tell people with the book here, it's actually mostly fact. It's mostly there's a lot of facts in it. It's just the reason I made it I disguised it as fiction because of the lawsuits with some of the people in there. I think I was being a little too careful with some things, but so a lot of so that's why I changed the names, some of the names in there of the bankers and other people in there and people that are still alive and stuff. But yeah, like the story of William Winchester, that's kind of that's basically made up. It was a little bit inspired by my ancestor Caleb, who fought in the Revolutionary War. So I kind of based a little bit of it off that. But yeah, the story of his personal life and his reincarnation and everything, and then this, well, obviously, the afterlife and everything, that's fictional. But the events in the book are almost everything is like on target. So that was my purpose. I was this, like a lot of directors do. They do the same thing with movies. They'll make a fictional movie, but it has real stuff in it that they're trying to they're mirroring exactly like things that are going on, and they're clever about how they do it. So, and I wanted it basically to get to the big screen, and I kind of wanted to trick them into, um, you know, to get away with it more, to do it. So. But yeah, but I did in the book. I did write. It was published in 2021. It was inspired of maybe 10 years I was thinking about writing, and not everything, but a lot of it. Um, and one of the major chapters that came true now is the fake patriot president chapter, and that was directly based off Trump. The character was just changed to Trunk, Trump the Trunk, Dan Trunk instead of Donald Trump. I'm definitely talking about the same person. So, but yeah, I was warning people that they planted they planted um, they tried to make like he was an independent. So it would like he was different from the other two parties. So they changed it, and I'll clarify more. I wrote a better article on that. But yeah, but yeah, let's get into it here. Let's share my screen here. Cut the video so I hopefully better resolution or it's bigger here. Okay. So folder. Sorry. Search it here. I don't should be coming up here, but we're probably missing it. Ah, yeah, here it is. Okay. So yeah, click on that, and then I have made some notes of where the key parts are here, the predictions. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna skip to you have the book. It's first section I'm gonna read is page 198 to 200. Skip to that. Okay, yeah, so yeah, it's page 198 and it's chapter 18, the fake patriot president. And again, this was published in I updated this. It's originally published in 2021. This is just there was just spelling errors I had to update, so I updated it. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna read this here up to 200. Okay. In May 30th, 2014, the Ruttenchilds and Pockefellers hosted a secret Bilderberg conference in Chantilly, Virginia, at a fancy hotel. The most powerful and richest elites from around the world all gathered together. Presidents of the biggest IT corporations like Bill Gates, Jim Rook, and Ron Russ also attended. Now, all these are that's Bill Gates. Bill Gates is Bill Gates. Jim Rook is that is Tim Cook, I think, yeah, from Apple, and then Ron Rusk is that's Elon Musk. So I just changed it a little bit. Also attended. Politicians and President Obama, that's Obama, also were present. The elites were aware there was a growing movement of anti-globalization, especially in the rural areas of the United States. Many rural people did not trust the government and especially clashed with anti-gun propaganda. Many rural people had their own wells and did not fluoridate their water like the cities. After Edward Snowden and the other whistleblowers went public years prior about government spy and surveillance, many conspiracy theorists used VPNs to hide their activity in meetings. They were careful not to share any of their theories at their jobs or with the general public. This was a big problem for the elites, and something needed to be done to stop this movement. Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending the 2014 Bilderberg Conference. I would like to remind everyone that the pictures and videos are not permitted, and also none of the discussions shared at the meeting are permitted to be shared with the general public and media. Our discussion today is how to track the revolutionaries, especially those living in the rural communities, Mr. Ruttenchild announced. These rebels have become more sophisticated and infiltrating and blending into society. They are not as obvious as the past protesters. In the age of the internet, they have become almost impossible to identify. They hack into our institutions and sensitive private data, putting the New World Order at great risk of exposure. But we have an idea that may derail their movement and bring them right to us. Please, Mr. Pakvar, explain to the audience what must be done. Mr. Ruttenchild paused passed the mic to him. Yes, thank you, Mr. Ruttenchild. This is a big problem in the States. We can thank that worthless piece of paper they call the Constitution for these dangerous ideas. Anyway, continue where Mr. Ruttenchild left off. We propose a psyop on the American people. We believe if we offer them a candidate that appears independent and an anti-globalist, that it will draw the rebels out of their basements, making them feel that they are getting their country back. But in reality, the patriot president for the people is in fact one of our boys that we also own. This fake patriot president will hold many rallies, and many of these conspiracy theorists will feel safe to attend. Little will they know we will be scanning every participant's face with biometric technology. These biometric images will be stored in a database, so we shall be able to identify them, track them in the future. We will appear in the media to attack him like he's the victim. In the next 2 years, we will count on the IT industry to create infrastructures to increase tracking and censorship on the American public. Social media platforms will also allow us to identify rebels, Mr. Pakvar announced with a smug look on his face. So yeah, this is basically like I was saying. I think it was 2 episodes ago. Mark Passio part of Project Pogo? We discussed and also before that, I was discussing how my dad was warning me. He was warning me not to go to some of these websites because he was thinking that they were collecting IP addresses to sell off to the feds and all that. So yeah, so this is basically from because I didn't know about Project Pogo back then, but this is basically from him, and that's what I always think. That's what I wanted to put in his book. So that's why I do actually believe that that's why they did allow Trump in there too. Part of the reason to identify the rebels, make them more comfortable coming out. So yeah, that shows pretty much what happened here. But we'll continue on to 200 here because there's more here. The meeting came to an end, and for the next 2 years, their plant would campaign for president. During the 2016 election, Dan Trunk and Bonnie Creighton. Now, Bonnie Creighton is that's Hillary Clinton. Yeah, Creighton is like Clinton, so I kind of changed that a little. So okay, during the 2016 election, Dan Trunk and Bonnie Creighton debated on CPAC. In the month of October, Julian Assange released a bunch of hacked emails from Bonnie Creighton and Mr. Podesta that he called the October surprise. Only a month before the election, these emails destroyed Mrs. Creighton's image forever. The mainstream media tried to downplay them and claimed it was illegal for the public to read them. Only the mainstream media was allowed to view them. Harrison downloaded the most incriminating emails and backed them up on an external hard drive and even printed physical paper copies just in case they try to delete them off the internet in the future. Which that was a lie too. Like CNN, they claimed that you weren't. It was illegal to look at the email, which that was bullshit. So that was just to scare the public from looking at them. So yeah. He and Landed sifted through the emails and found very disturbing proof that Mr. Podesta and Bonnie Creighton were involved with pedophilia and a bizarre ritual they called spirit cooking. The mainstream media tried to make anyone that accused the elites of indulgent pedophilia and human cannibalism a conspiracy theorist, even though anyone could read the emails for themselves. or simply by looking at a few photos of the Modestas family with a statue depicting a beheaded victim of Jeffrey Dahmer in their living room. Well, which that's true. You know, they do have that, so that's really sick. So yeah, that's a whole thing you can explore. The Pizzagate is real. That Alex Jones, he just tried to scare people from going in it, and it's actually bullshit that you're not allowed to look at that stuff. I have all the emails backed up, and I have paper copies. So yeah, there's definitely there's a lot of proof that there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. So that's a really dark corner to go down. But yeah, that's some sick stuff. But anyways, but the mainstream media failed to protect Bonnie Creighton's image by losing the public's trust, causing her to lose the 2016 presidential election. She was so flustered she didn't concede until the next morning, rather hungover from drinking her sorrows away the night before. Yeah, which she did. I think they said that. Yeah, she was all really hungover and drunk. She was like yelling. According to people, she was yelling and bitching real nasty. So that's kind of funny. But anyways, okay, on January 20th, 2017, Dan Trump became president of the United States. Harrison had been following him for 2 years prior as a candidate. He was very picky and tough on the candidates for president. He didn't have much faith in either political party since he was a teenager. He learned the two-party system was an illusion to distract the public. That in fact, at the end of the day, both parties shook hands. Harrison's most important critique on the candidate for president was he must be a hardcore follower of the Constitution. The last president Harris could remember in history that followed the Constitution was JFK. Every president in his lifetime was a letdown, and his view were traitors. This time around, he had some hope that just maybe America would finally get a true president for the people. So, the character doesn't, obviously he doesn't know yet. But I obviously I knew. So okay. Oh yeah, and this part too. Yeah. When Dan Trump took off, he's not happy with he picked for VP, ultra Christian fanatic Rick Rentz. He had voted for him because he liked that he finally brought light to the hypocritical mainstream media's lies and corruption. Harrison had warned his family and friends since he was a teenager of how manipulative and propagandist the mainstream media had become. He always listened to independent, non-conflict of interest media. Many times his independent media was years ahead of the mainstream media, but the public would call his sources fake news. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's like one good thing that came out of the Trump thing. There was a few things, but that was one thing. I think that was just to gain his trust, and then ironically, like everything has an equal and opposite reaction. So even if it's not planned, sometimes good things happen out of it. So I think that was how they had to bait you, him talking about that and making, and I think that a lot of the independents were already suspicious of the mainstream media. So I think they kind of wanted to draw you in with that. But yeah, that was a good thing that the mainstream media did basically get destroyed and the CNN's. I mean, you look at the views, like there's hardly any they hardly have any views anymore. So that was a success with that. So I won't complain about that. But okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go. So yeah, that's one of the. So just to show you what the book was predicting here, and I have a couple other here. Um, okay, so this is when the character becomes suspicious of him, and that's page 205. Skip to 205. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So, yeah, here we go. 2 years into Dan Trump's presidency, Harrison began to become more suspicious that once again they might have another puppet president on their hands. On February 5th, 2019, Dan Trump bombed Syria over a fake staged chemical attack at the globalist UN building. Once again, like all the other puppet presidents, Trump did not get permission from Congress to go to war as required by the Constitution. Even worse, he continued to pick past Rush Jr. cabinet members. Yeah, so yeah, that was a major time I started. Well, I was already starting to go against them, but this is what really pissed me off. Because yeah, it was that was a fake. I think it was Assad or something. They were trying to blame him for a fake chemical attack, and then he found out it was a bunch of actors, and you could tell it was fake, and Trump still went in there and bombed it. So that was the first. That was strike. I don't know if it's strike one or two. I can't remember, but yeah, that was definitely that was where I already was suspicious of him. Okay, okay. Even worse, he continued to pick past Rush Jr. cabinet members. Harrison continued to dig and found Jerry Kushner. That's Jared Kushner. I just changed the name. Trump's son-in-law was Trump's son-in-law was in bed with Jeffrey Torres. That's um, George Soros. So just changed the name on him. Trump also started to go soft on Bonnie Creighton, Hillary Clinton. When the crowd would shout, lock her up, Trump would say she's gone through enough, even though he knew from her emails she was involved with pedophiles like Mr. Modesto and Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. He became even more suspicious of Trump when he would not pardon Julian Assange. In fact, he was surprised after doing some extended research. He found a video in 2010 that when Trump was asked what should be done to Julian Assange, he said he should have be given the death penalty. So yeah, and that's true too. Yeah, he was a real bastard about that. He wanted the death penalty for Julian Assange, and that was before he even got elected. And what's annoying too is Julian Assange basically helped him win the election with those emails. He destroyed Hillary, so that's he really fucked her over. So, anyways, then after viewing Jeffrey's Epstein's Lolita Express flight logs, he found Trump's top lawyer Alan Dershowitz had flown on the plane more than even formal President Creighton. That's President Clinton, you know. Harrison's worst fears appeared to be coming true. Could the president really be the biggest psyop played in American history? Yeah, so that you can see that this is where I was real suspicious. So, um, but yeah, Alan Dershowitz, yeah, I forget, I think it's like 76 times, something like that. Like it's ridiculous. He's a major disgusting, and yeah, and he's Trump's lawyer, so that should tell you something there. So. Okay, yeah, so and we're gonna do, there's more in here, but we're gonna do one more here and then we're get to something else here. So the next one is on page 211. I think that's in the virus chapter. 211. Okay, here we go. So Republicans started worshiping Trump like an idol in the summer and early fall, or I'm sorry, let's start there. One of his worst fears came true when lots of Republicans started worshiping Trump like an idol, and they certainly did, and certainly, and still kind of some of them still are now, So even though after all the crap that he did, so in the summer and early fall, BLM and Antifa burned cities all over the country, including within southern Oregon, where Harrison and his family lived. The whole West Coast was lit on fire, and many of them were lit by Antifa and BLM arsonists. The wildfires came so close to the Winchester's property it turned the sky black at 3 p.m. It looked a bit like Armageddon. Luckily, the firemen that rented the space in the Winchester's land stopped the fire before it could burn our houses down. Yeah, that's actually based on a true event that happened to me, happened to us. That's actually, yeah, that was a time when, yeah, they were having shit fits about Trump and everything, and yeah, they were lighting they were lighting a bunch of places, the cities on fire, and then they started coming down here, the rural parts, and they started starting fires, and yeah, one was like so close, that yeah, it was like dark at 3 p.m. and we thought we were screwed, so we were really lucky that they stopped it before it got to us, but yeah, that was. Okay, so for Trump's second election, Harrison decided not to vote at all, for he had figured out what Trump's true purpose was. Like all presidents, he needed a way to hook people. While he repaired the economy in the beginning, it was now worse than it ever had been. Like a punch in the gut, he had to accept he also was once again another puppet president. No better than Obama or Rush Jr. The final nail in the coffin came when Trump pushed vaccinations on the American public. Now he I should reword this a little bit. I don't mean he didn't force it on him, like he didn't make it mandatory like Biden. But he recommended it. So what I mean by push, I mean he just kind of like pushed it like they were good, like which he did. He said they were safe. Now Operation Warp Speed. So So yeah, and as everybody knows, is or if you're listening, I think when he first became, he was a candidate for president. That was a lot of the reason why a lot of people voted for him because he said he was partially anti-vaccine and he was very suspicious of what happened with his son and that shit. So this was like a complete betrayal of the anti-vax view. So. Okay, so this infuriated Harrison and drove him to start a campaign to end the super PACs for good. No more would super rich elites be the only ones to run for president. It was time to take the presidency back to the middle class and get a true patriot president in office. Yeah. So yeah, and so this book is, um, like I knew Trump would probably get back in on the second term. It was just I was basically trying to show people a different timeline if they changed it, and instead of having instead of just going with the regular elections with the super PACs and being screened through DNC and RNC where they make sure that these people are blackmailed, so you don't really, so they're always controlled. They're not going to do what people want. Um, that's basically what I was trying to I was trying to stop that timeline. I was just trying to show people what it could be. But I knew, I knew it was too soon for somebody to get in. So basically I was just trying to reroute the timeline, try to get people to think a different way. And instead of electing Trump, to elect somebody that was a real American, So that's why, in this book, it talks about the characters trying to get rid of super PACs and the PACs and all the stuff that blocks people from getting in. And in this book, in this timeline, he's successful at that and he becomes president. That's a spoiler alert if anybody, but he becomes president and does it the right way and gets rid of the super PACs and the PACs. So and then he establishes the new republic and the new constitution and adds things to the Bill of Rights and stuff and it actually gets the real golden age, so because that's the main thing with this show is this is not a real golden age. This is a hijacked old golden age. In the book, that would have been a real golden age. But yeah, that's not, obviously, people didn't listen to me. They didn't listen to me to try to warn, so they went right along with Trump again, which I was trying to prevent. So anyways, yeah. So and we'll go farther in this book. There's other predictions with Kamala Harris being the whore New Babylon and how she did actually run for president. I mean, it's not exactly happened, but I tell you, it's pretty damn close compared to like even a lot of movies that aren't even really or even if they're 5 years off or 10 years off or a little bit off, they still get massive credit for that. So my book was like 99.9%. There was only a little bit of a difference of what happened, but basically it is. And even with well, we'll get to that another time. Yeah, I don't want to get into that today because that's a whole other topic. So okay. So yeah, it looks like yeah, we showed in the book here. And there's other things we're gonna go with that later, like how I also, predicted that Trump was gonna do the smart cities and he was gonna get the AI in and build the infrastructure. But that'll have to be another episode for that because that's gonna be a lot to cover. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you got to stop. You can't. We can't. There's no even point of voting if we don't get rid of these packs and these gates, these gatekeepers screening people, and we don't stop the blackmail trash, because that's why it annoys me. It's like again, with Owen and stuff and these other idiots, like we'll just vote in 2028, like for another more plants, because they all went through that screening gate. So I don't believe MTG or Thomas Massey is really the real deal here, and I really don't think they'd have the balls enough, the radical enough to do what needs to be done. So anyways, okay, okay, yeah, and so I'm gonna go to my article I wrote. I wrote this actually before the election. I was trying to warn people again about not, voting him in again. Not voting for anybody. I definitely not Kamala Harris either. Which it'll tell you in this article. So website. And then yeah, if you're following along with me, just go to blog and Fake Patriot Trump, the infiltrator and Trojan horse. Okay, so I'll go ahead and read this, and we'll click on some of the videos here. Okay. So yeah, I wrote this November 2nd. Right, it was right a couple days right before the election. So I think I was pretty damn accurate here. Okay, first off, this article's purpose is not to support any presidential candidate or the two-party system. Kamala Harris obviously is extremely corrupt, and there's plenty of information online to prove that. Instead, this article is to bring attention to the topics not being discussed about Donald Trump in mainstream media and very rarely talked about even in the so-called independent media. First, to separate this article from any perceived notions that this is a strategy to push the other candidate, we will explore the false attacks on Mr. Trump. One, Trump being accused of Russian collusion. This was proven to be lies concocted by Democrats like Adam Schiff. It was also a ploy to fuel propaganda and war with Russia. So yeah, so when I did defend him on this, I only defended him on the stuff that the Democrats were bullshitting about. Because yeah, there was no evidence that he was colluding with Russia, and that was just the Democrats just trying to, their long war with Russia. They just wanted their war. They wanted to start war with Russia, so they were trying to build that narrative. So that was bull crap. Um, the Democrats' accusations of Trump being racist, yeah, as I said, were also not backed up by any evidence and was also a ploy to cause race war and civil war. Yeah, yeah. So like they're both kind of about causing this civil war. Um, so yeah, I like they just never gave me any proof to see that he was actually racist. I mean, I guess you could say now, with him being a Zionist, like yeah, they're probably the most racist. Like behind the scenes, he probably is. I wouldn't doubt that, because the Zionists are probably one of the most racist people. Like they think they're the chosen ones, and everybody's the goyim, and they should just bow to them, and they don't care about killing you and women and children and all that stuff. So yeah, probably right now, yeah, that's probably true. But at least the things that Democrats were saying at the time were was just bullshit, and they do, and they'll try to distract you with crap and distract you from real stuff he's doing. So, anyways, um, Trump lying about the election being stolen. Yeah, this he did not lie about that. So, anyways, what's real? This is a mainstream media lie. There is much evidence to prove the 2020 election was stolen by video evidence, mail-in ballots, mysterious ballot boxes being received early in the morning where polls were closed, etc. Now we have explored some of the false accusations against Trump. We will present why he is a Trojan horse to the truth community. One, big oil owns him. Trump is not shy that he sports big oil and even to the past has called himself a Rockefeller Republican. According to an article on WikiLeaks, it states at the 1988 Republican National Convention, Donald Trump was asked by Larry King on CNN, "You might be classified as an Eastern Republican, Rockefeller Republican, fair?" To which Trump replied, "I guess you could say that." During his 2016 presidential campaign, Trump was described as both a modern day Rockefeller Republican by some conservative writers. Also, Trump frequently shouts "drill, baby, drill." So yeah, I mean, that's usually like a big sign, like if he's um, yeah, I mean, if he's, it was a sign that he was really, for like a Republican, because he was, for, the big oil. So if he was independent, he wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have supported big oil. I mean, maybe like a transitional period. I mean, because yeah, you can't just do that all at once. You can't just pull the you can't pull the floor from somebody all of a sudden and then expect not chaos. So if he did a transitional period to get off oil and to go to real alternatives, not fake stuff, and not for CO2, just just to just cleaner and less less chemicals and stuff. That's the main thing, not polluting the environment. If he did that, then then it would have been okay. But he didn't even attempt to do that. So he's a big oil boy. So that should have been actually a big red flag there for most people. So. Okay, so number two, attack, and you can click on these if you're watching this, all the proof here and stuff. To attack on Syria on April 6, 2007, Trump ordered a strike on Syria based on a fake chemical attack without permission of Congress. So yeah, I actually at that time I was so pissed off about that. I called the White House and said, I try to warn them, do not attack Assyria. Please don't do that. Whatever. I knew they weren't going to listen to me, but in my conscience, I wanted to say something about it. So yeah, that was basically strike one for me. So, yes, three, refuses to lock Hillary Clinton up. In several of his rallies, the crowd shouts, lock her up. And instead of supporting the crowd's wishes, Trump said, I don't want to hurt the Clintons. I really don't. Trump said, according to the tweets. She went through a lot and has suffered greatly in many different ways. You're right. Huh? On a recent Joe Rogan episode, he gives a poor excuse why he didn't continue pursuing criminal charges on Hillary. And Joe Rogan, another infiltrator to the Truth Movement, said in response, I respect that you didn't. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you could watch that 2-14. And so, he didn't have the balls to go after her. He's friends with her. We know that past. So yeah, that was strike two, for me. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, we'll play this part, actually. This show 'em.
Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. They used to say that with Hillary, and I'd always go, relax, take it easy. We're going to win. I could have locked her up, but I didn't want to lock her up. She's the wife of the President of the United States previously, and she was Secretary of State. I said, that would be so terrible for our country. And then they try and do it to me. Isn't it terrible?
Yeah, so who cares if she's the who cares if she's the wife to the president? Well, why does that matter? It's like who gives a shit? You make it do a crime, you do a crime. So that was annoying. But yeah, I think there was. I'm sorry, that was. Huh. Okay. That's supposed to be Joe Rogan. Oh, here's a Joe Rogan. Was that two? Joe Rogan podcast. 214.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Okay, let's skip to 214. Yeah, so Joe Rogan is a little pussy too. He's a fucking faggot. Fucking pacifist,
Opponent stuff, and I won the big case in Florida. I'm winning the other stuff. You win, but you know what they did? They did something that's only done in third world countries. They came after their political opponent.
Yes.
I could have put crooked Hillary in jail.
Well, not only that, but they're weaponizing it by saying that that's what you're going to do once you get in office.
Isn't it great?
By ignoring what they're doing right now. It's crazy.
I heard it. Somebody was defending me today. They said, no, they say that's what you're doing to him. They're going, he's going to put us in jail. He's going to invest.
That's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing to him.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, will you do that? Will you do that to him, to them, if you win? The presidency has tremendous power. I could have put crooked Hillary
I
in
respected
jail.
that you didn't, because what you said was it would be bad for the country.
No, I couldn't even imagine. You have, first of all, Secretary of State, but more importantly, the wife of the President of the United States of America going into jail. And if you ever saw when I'd say something about her, they'd all say, I didn't say it. I never said it.
Who gives a shit? Let's see why it matters. Like, how is she any better than anybody else? This is what I'm getting sick of, this special treatment of people because they're president or something.
They say, lock her up, lock her. And I'd always go, take it easy, just relax. We're going to win this thing. Take it easy, take it easy. And I'm telling you, I kept it down, just the opposite. Now they say, oh,
Yeah,
Trump wanted to put her in
pacifist.
jail. No, I
Oh,
saved
we
her
know what we
from
know.
going to
Yeah,
jail. They had more stuff on her.
yeah,
And Comey had it because when Comey got up,
yeah, sure did, didn't they? Yeah. See, oh God, what a fight. That's what really. I mean, that's what's really pissed me off. I was getting angry and angry and angry every time he was defending these people. So I really can't understand why people voted for this idiot, especially the second term, the second time, so or even voted for him in 2020 or 2024. It was ridiculous. So anyways, but so yeah, that's okay. Let's continue an article here. Okay, yeah, this is really so. This is actually what I judge presidents on, and I think it should be everybody should be judging them on this because this is so you don't get attached to people that you like or superstars or what they look like. The only thing you should be judging the president on is if he's following the Bill of Rights and at least some of the good parts of the Constitution because I know there's a lot of Federalist crap we covered on another thing that they put in but just the basics, and at least, especially the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, that's what you should base on. Any president goes against that, you should immediately drop them immediately, and that's what I do because this is what he did. He violated the Second Amendment. Okay, so on August 5th, 2019, Trump violated the Second Amendment by calling for support for the red flag law, flag law into law, and the bump stock ban and actually said regarding the red flag law, arrest them first, do the due process later. This is a direct violation of the Constitution. Yeah, so yeah, I mean this. So yeah, we're gonna play that because I want people to see that. So any Republican voting for him, this should really bother you.
yes, go ahead, Mike.
Well, in the category, you've spoken about it, Mr. President, gun violence restraining orders, they're called. California actually has a version of this, and I think in your meeting with governors earlier this week, individually and as a group, we spoke about states taking steps, but the focus is to literally give families and give local law enforcement additional tools if an individual is reported to be a potential danger to themselves or others. Allow due process so that no one's rights are trampled, but the ability to go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession
Or
of that
Mike,
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because
Yeah,
a lot
right.
of times, by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court
Oh yeah.
to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this
Taking the guns
crazy
early.
man's case that just
Without a
took
case.
place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
No.
Hey there, thanks.
See that's a direct violation of your Second Amendment. So, and the real problem, people will try to say, oh well, I mean, if it's a crazy person, and you want to prevent a crime, and like I said, but the problem with that is setting the precedent. I mean, we all know, I'm sure we have family members that are real assholes, even during the COVID thing, try to call the police on you for not wearing a mask and stuff like that. So like the neighbor can say whatever they want. You can say, "Oh, that guy, he's violent or something," and they can just say, they're violent, and then they, without any trial, they can just take your guns. So that's not right. And where does it end? And they also do with the mental illnesses and stuff like. What kind of mental illnesses? Like where's the line? What, you have anxiety, you can't have one. I mean, yeah, I guess schizophrenia, that would be, I still wouldn't support that, but like, I mean, like where would the line be drawn? And so that's where they kind of they you give them an inch and they take a mile. So that's why that should never be, not even consider doing something like that. So yeah, that really got me mad, really mad. So, and it should, any Republican, it should piss off too. So yeah. Okay, so the show went over an hour. It was like an hour and 25 minutes. So we're gonna cut this into two parts. So this is the end of part one. See you next time.